be.
Can you hear me, Julie?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, cool. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning. Jada, was there an agenda that was sent out or not?
Yeah, I just sent it to Chair Lowry this morning. Our department had been activated for Hurricane Milton and Helene, so I hadn't had a chance to get everything together. I apologize. My
No
apologies.
worries. I just want to make sure I didn't miss it.
No, you didn't. I just sent it
Okay.
out, and I told her I'll be getting out the minutes for last meeting as well by the end of the day today.
Thank you.
It looks like the only one in person is me.
Oh, wait a minute. No, Angela, I'm on the call right now. It's not rescheduled. People are looking at me. Oh, I'm not on mute. Hold on. No, they're on the call right now. Okay, bye-bye.
Good morning, Dr. Fudge. How you
Good
doing?
morning. Good, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
This is
Good
Idelia.
morning.
Good morning, Dr. Phillips.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm glad you're taping this because I know Mary Pat's not able to be on it, and obviously she's our key person helping plan this. So I know she'll want to hear from you, Dr. Fudge. everybody get the agenda, or did you just send it to me, Jada?
I just sent it to you for your approval first. I can send it to everybody else if it's good to go.
That's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't believe we have the minutes though, so we can't really approve them this way anyway, but Jada will send them to you guys to take a look at for the next meeting. A reminder that that one does need to be in person. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring us to order and start the meeting. I don't really have anything for a welcome, just glad you're here. Do we have any public comment? Public people on here? I don't see anybody. And I know this all came together a little last minute, so we'll probably have a smaller group than usual. Nope, wrong thing. Toggling around, trying to get back to my agenda. So again, we don't have the meeting recap, but we'll deal with that later. Chair's report, again, I don't really have anything. I hope you all came through the storm okay. I'm assuming some folks who aren't on here are still managing that process, which I know is not an easy one, but I hope everybody did okay. I was personally very lucky and feel very lucky to have been lucky.
We escaped to Jacksonville.
Oh, which isn't always fun either, though, trying to get there and back. I know people had some nightmare stories of how long it took them to get places that normally don't take that long.
More traffic coming back. Yeah.
Everybody else do okay? Your business is all right? Yeah, good. Glad to hear it. All right, financials. I think we just got those sent, but Joanne, are you on here?
I'm here. Not much has happened since I last saw you all. So I did share
it hasn't been very long.
I shared the financials with Jada. I know she'll include those in the recap she'll send you soon. Again, nothing's changed. Just still holding with a little over 13,000 in the bank account and not many expenses. Your PO box renews this month. That's really all at the moment. So when we get into Women's Hall of Fame, you know, it gets a little more exciting.
Yeah, very much so. All right. Any questions? I don't have anything to ask because you haven't seen them, but if you have any questions, please feel free to forward them to Tatiana or to Joanne once you see the financials. But it's our quiet time. There's not a lot going on. The Yay Awards. So I think you all saw that the Board of County Commissioners meeting got moved from last week to this week. So if you're able to come and you want to join me, please let Jada know so she can save you a seat. And that will be very nice. Again, we do have Tony Salvaggio from e-cycling, I think is what it's called, giving them laptops again. And Joanne, we were supposed to exchange those gift cards.
Yes, we'll coordinate. What time is the presentation tomorrow?
It's time certain at 9 a.m. Planning to get there at 8:30 just to make sure we're all situated.
We'll coordinate something maybe this afternoon to get it to you in case.
Okay. Yeah, I know we had grand plans for that and it didn't work out. Yeah, that'll be great. I know those kids will enjoy it and they're a really good crop of kids. The town hall. So I know, Dr. Fudge, we invited you on here And I think we invited some others, but I don't see anybody. And I know things obviously got really crazy with the storms, but what we really wanted to do is come to you and others as the experts in the field to tell us who you think needs to be at the table, basically. So, because we're compiling the list now of, folks who we think need to hear this message. Some are obvious, like our elected and stuff like that, but we just want to make sure, since we're amplifying the voices of the childcare workers themselves and finding out what they need and how we can all support them, we just want to make sure that we have in the room who you think should be there. So, if you want to share that with us.
The typical people we have in the room to discuss early childhood is going to be the school system, Tracy Brown's program, Owen Young, and ELC, Black Child Development Institute. But I recommend that we have providers in the room as well, and providers that have been in the field, a decade plus, that own child care centers. So I would recommend inviting some of those people, and I have their names and numbers, because if we invite people that are actually in the battlefield, they can tell us what's needed more so than the people who are not in the battlefield. So my charge has been to allow people to understand you must hear the voice of the teachers and the owners. When we have these meetings, at the table is going to be Dr. Higgs, Marnie, Tracy, Owen, and those people are fantastic human beings. However, they're not in the field. So when I talk to people and get my knowledge, I get it from folks that work directly in the field. So I'd recommend some people for you to attend that come to our BCDI meetings, because we hear directly from the teachers and directors. So that's what I'd like to have at the table, are those people, not the powers to be per se.
Yeah, we totally agree with you. We want the powers that be to be in the room to hear what they have to say, but we want to hear what their daily struggles are, personally, professionally, what they need, what kind of support, can be provided. So you're exactly right.
Absolutely.
And we did think that, sort of a variety of, we mentioned owners, we thought maybe some of the larger ones, but also some of the smaller, home places,
Absolutely.
because that's a different sort of animal entirely.
Absolutely. You'll find with the large brand, like one of my clients is Primrose, and you all know Primrose, and Janet Rackey's program, and Christy off of South Tampa, largest childcare center in the state of Florida. They have over 100 teachers and over 400 children. Their needs are different from Bambino, that's in 33610. So if I bring you a Primrose and I bring you a 33610 person, their needs are different. Janet's going to say we just need teachers, but Janet can afford to train them out of her own pocket. So their needs are not going to be the same. I want to give you guys some stats that may be off topic, but allow me to indulge in that. Right now, because of the storm, we have up to 5 childcare centers that have closed down permanently. They just can't afford the repairs to the building, and those are our high needs area. And we have over 280 schools that are still closed because of the storm. And 90% of those schools are not still closed because of the flooding, Davis Island per se flooding. They're closed because the building was substandard and they can't afford to get it fixed, and they can't afford the deductible of the liability insurance. So we're talking about over 200 centers that are closed right now. Where are those children? God bless them where they are. And those centers that are closed and not opened, those schools are in our 33610, 33619, but they had dilapidated buildings and issues beforehand. The storm just exasperated that. So when you talk about over 200 centers, that's a lot of kids, when the average school serves about 80 children. So I definitely like those people to come in and talk. You guys can hear what they have to say. And what you'll find is a lot of us, they just can't afford to do the bare necessities in their building.
Yeah, that's an interesting angle. I mean, we're not doing this till May, so,
Right.
but in general, I think that Florida needs to kind of wake up to, in many ways, what
Absolutely.
those kinds of things. 200, that's crazy. Yeah, just
Mhm.
those kids and the parents, are they not able to work? Like,
Absolutely.
it's a whole
Mhm.
cascade effect. I know Rebecca
Absolutely.
put her hand up too.
Sure.
Hi
You
there.
mute.
I'm so, yeah, I'm here. I'm so glad you're on, Dr. Fudge.
Yes.
I
Hey,
think your
Rebecca.
input's really important, and I
Mhm.
agree with everything you're saying. I'm curious where you got the data about the fact that that many schools are still closed. I'm still trying to get that information from ELC around at least the school readiness, but that's a horrible number.
It is.
So maybe we need to talk offline about that. I've had some conversations since our last meeting. I did talk to Marnie Fuente with HCC, and she's definitely, happy to participate in this. I also talked to Michelle Watson, who's the CEO of our Florida Alliance of Children's Councils and Trusts, and she actually has a pretty heavy background in early learning. So she's interested in coming to this, and she said, I was talking to her a little bit about some of the challenges and part of why we're trying to amplify the voice of the childcare providers. And she said she would like to bring Erin Smeltzer, who's at the Children's Movement and who's over the Teach Scholarship. And she said, I think she'd be really open to listening to some of the input. So I wondered what you thought about that. And again, they would just be there listening, not necessarily the ones talking, but for them to really hear this perspective firsthand, I thought could be very powerful, but I wanted to see what you thought.
I enjoy people's perspectives tremendously. I've been doing this 31 years, and the providers have communicated their shyness to, I'm trying to be so professional, so you let me get my verbiage together because we're recording this.
You can say it like it is, and I think this is probably a safe group, and
It's being recorded.
oh well.
I don't think we're gonna send it to
I
anybody.
saw that, so I'm safeguarding.
Yeah, my concern would be that people are comfortable speaking up, and
I can't get people to come if they're in the room.
really,
There you go.
It's fair. And it's the kind of thing we need to know. That's why we appreciate your perspective as someone who's so immersed in it.
right.
There is
So
a trust factor that's been broken. And if I tell people that they will be a part of the conversation, many of the people that I would invite that are in the battlefield will not come.
So what's the best way to get that information to decision makers then? Do you have the event and then summarize it and share it? Is that what you're recommending?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
It's almost like this, Rebecca, is that the Children's Forum is the Mercedes-Benz in some people's minds of our field, right? However, there's other cars to drive. There's Toyotas, there's Hondas, there's whatever they are. And so when you tell people for 31 years, drive their Mercedes is the baddest car on the road, and you've shoved that down their throats, and they never liked a Mercedes, they no longer want to be around Mercedes-Benz anymore. So we have, in our field, we have attached to certain programs, certain people, that if they were effective, Rebecca, why are we still here 31 years later? We have to put other cars on the road and say, okay, Mercedes-Benz has not been effective, but let's put the Honda, the Toyota out here, and let's see how those feel to drive those cars. So providers are tired of hearing about Mercedes-Benz. They want to drive other cars now. We have people with reprobated mindsets that say, well, come on, you guys, I love the Mercedes. You love it, but if we loved it, we'd be driving it. So that analogy is to let you know.
I appreciate that perspective. I guess my hope is that, part of what we want to do is influence change.
Absolutely.
And to change so that it's not a one size fits all model, that there are other options. But, I think that's part of the system change work is you have to, you can't just accept, well, this is the way it's going to be in that, so we're going to just build our own car. My hope is that we can push that car to adapt and provide different options for different people. But, I really respect your opinion, and, I want this to be successful, and I'm quite happy to circle back and say, we're going to hold this event and then feed the information to you if the
I
group
think
thinks
that's
that's
most
the best.
effective, Rebecca. I love them to have information, but to have them in the room, that's there's a lack of trust for providers in
I
them.
got it.
And
Yep.
they'll be like, I'm not coming, Dr. Fudge. I'm sick of those people and hearing the same old, and
Mhm.
nothing changes. But I'd love for them to get the information and perhaps they'd be willing, they've had a spirit movement change or connecting to Christ change, whatever they would need to do, and they'd be willing to change. But right now, I like them to get the information and hopefully they'd be willing to change. But the mindset's that it's just one highway and you better drive it, and it's not working, or we don't have this problem anymore.
Yeah. And really, Dr. Fudge, I mean, Rebecca's point is valid though, because we don't want to just, create a report that sits on somebody's shelf. So,
Sure.
maybe, and I don't want to make more work for us, but, maybe it is that we have the listening session and that's the one thing. And then we have another sit down with those folks with the
Sure.
data and say, here's what we got. So that it's not like we're handing them a paper and they're like, okay, great, thanks, I'm going to file that. So I don't know if
Yes,
there's a way to
ma'am.
get it more attention, you know what I mean? I think Angela had her hand up and then Dottie.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I was wondering, who do you think we could have in the room that could really make changes? Should we have Kathy Castor? Should we have people from Hillsborough County? Who do you think that can really make a difference?
The people that I think really can make a difference and that are willing to make a difference is Rebecca on the phone call right now, Children's Board, ELC, and the school board. Those are the people that really are the heavy hitters in the community that focus on 0 to 8. The challenge has been that people are just now realizing how important it is from 0 to 8. I think you were at the meeting with the Commissioner Myers we had, Andrew. I think you were there with what's his name, Van Ayers and all those folks. And they just were mesmerized as to how important the brain is 0 to 5. You have people graduating certificates and not their high school diploma, right? Well, how can we stop this? Well, it doesn't start in kindergarten. It starts in birth. It starts, from 0 to 5. We have to send them to kindergarten ready. There are over 40 schools in 33610, Angela, that have failed the kindergarten readiness test in Hillsborough County for over a decade. And we have 33 failing schools. And I say to people, we are sending the children to your school not ready, Potter. Robles are not ready because they didn't come from childcare ready. So people are, I think, Angela, now realizing, this train is not running well. We've got to fix childcare. But it's a matter of who's willing to invest in to fix it. There's something called accreditation, like college you went to that were accredited, right? Childcare centers get accredited, and to get accredited is things you must follow. They run from accreditation because it costs too much. They can't afford it. But once you're accredited, you're considered to be an A+ school and a gold seal school, which means that you are a school that's stellar and you're teaching a curriculum, it's monitored, lesson plans, the children are learning. But without accreditation, there's no guarantee that's happening. Or apparently it's not happening because schools are still failing. And Hillsborough County is one of the lowest in the state with kids failing the test in elementary schools, but you got to get it ready before they go. So what I am hearing, and I'm so excited about you guys, is people are realizing birth to 5 is so imperative. And I'm excited to see people really finally understanding that. Now it's time to get in the field and say, okay, we need to get these people certified, to get them accredited. What do we do? Because there's nobody out there necessarily pushing that in Hillsborough County. But if ACC is a wonderful program at Marnie's program is behavior management. And so everyone's endorsed that program for decades because we love Marnie. And she is to be loved. She's phenomenal. However, there's a gap in that. We have behavior management with ACC, but none of the other things we've discussed for 31 years are being addressed. And that is certifying teachers and getting the schools accredited. We're dealing with behaviors, but Dr. Hicks has this program you hear about Thursday in the Children's Board meeting, whatever Rebecca's meeting is. He'll talk about the programs they have with children with unique abilities. But that only serves about 4 or 5% of our population, whereas the other 95%. So we have programs serving unique abilities that EOC is doing with Dr. Hicks. We have Marty's programs dealing with behaviors, but where's the people helping with the schools being certified and accredited? I have a daughter, she's 17. When she was a child, she went to a gold seal accredited school. I hate to be on a recorded call telling you guys, there's some childcare centers I would not put my dog. And that's alarming to me. That's alarming. You walk, I'd like to take you on some tours. You want to go to some tours with me? Call me. We'll get in my car, we'll go visit some schools. And you'll say, Dr. Fudge, how has this happened? I'll say, because no one's taking a minute to sit back and say, we need to fix this, but it takes funding to fix it. Call me, let's go on a tour. You will be amazed at what you'll see. tarps on top of a roof because it's leaking. Back in the old days, my granny was 103. She was old school and from the South, you guys. So there was a leak. She put like a little white bucket there and it dripped in the bucket. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but that's what Granny would do. I'm like, Granny, there's a bucket, and she dumped the bucket out and all that type of jazz so she could afford to fix it. But that's antiquated, Granny. Get up somebody, fix the roof. But in childcare centers, you'll see that. DCF, who monitors childcare facilities, and just give me 2 minutes to say that. They have 4 or 5 different counties they're monitoring for childcare centers, right? And they only have 4 inspectors. So there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of childcare centers they have to monitor. So they're not seeing all this stuff. But Dr. Fudge and my team, we go in like, oh my land. There are roaches saying hi to you when you walk in the door. So why is this happening? Because no one is addressing these issues. They're addressing unique abilities. They're addressing behavior problems. But what about what's going on inside the building? We have to talk about that stuff too to make it better for the children.
That's a scary picture. Thank you. I mean,
How do you
imagine
feel about the Head Start
learning is completely
Oh my
beside the
land,
point,
who
right?
said that? Who said that? Who was it? Tell
Angela,
me.
Angela.
how do you feel about the Head Start program?
Angela, you know that's my background, Head Start. That's my full-time job. Well, I love Head Start. Unique things about Head Start, we're federal dollars. So we have money like manna from heaven because we're federal dollars. So we have education specialists, mental health specialists, caseworkers, social workers, all that in Head Start. But childcare centers don't have that. So it's a child that's behaviorally challenged, send a mental health specialist in. A child is obese, we'll send in a nutrition specialist. Head Start has the playbook of being successful in our field. And all Head Start teachers must be certified. Head Start pays for it. All programs must be accredited. Head Start pays for it. Head Start is the GOAT of early childhood. But let's switch, Angela, to a private owner who is barely making ends meet because we don't reimburse them enough through school readiness. They can't afford to be a Head Start. So that's when we step in and we say, okay, you can't afford to be a Head Start, but let's at least help you get certified teachers and get your facility to be a gold seal accredited facility. Head Start
Wait a minute,
is a gold.
why can't they afford it? They have to pay to be in Head Start?
Head Start is federally funded, but childcare center is private payer funded through ELC or VPK. So federal dollars for Head Start coming from the government, they get money for all this. So the parents are not doing anything. But when it's a childcare center, it is funded through Early Learning Coalition or VPK programs. Whole different ball game because you don't really make any money because the reimbursement rate is so low from ELC and from VPK.
It's a whole education in itself right here.
Indeed. So Dottie has her hand up too.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Hi, Dr. Fudge.
Hi.
Thank you so much for everything that you do. And so many things that you have said this morning are quite alarming. Those on the call know that I've been in the anti-human trafficking trenches for over 40 years. And everything that you have described is the perfect storm for a child to fall prey to a predator and human trafficking. So to me, this is imperative that we get this issue fixed to protect our children, not only for predators, but also to have them be successful in ongoing success, a setup for them to be successful in life. So I just really wanted to offer that comment that this is all preventative measures to help our kids not fall prey to devastating circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Absolutely, Dottie. It's true. It's true.
It's just astounding to me, like we say in this nation all the time how important our kids are to us and how important they are to the future of our country, but we just do not put our money where our mouth is in any way. So hopefully this will help a little bit. And I think this has been very good to clarify, as much as anything, who shouldn't be in the room, I guess. But I think we probably need to, and I don't want to do anything without Mary Pat, of course, this is her brainchild, but it just seems like maybe it's 2 different events. Like we hear from the folks and then we deliver the message to the folks that need to hear it. Dr. Fudge too, I don't know if they've shared with, if anybody has shared with you, maybe Angela has, sort of the framework of the evening that we've planned. We've tried to really make it, you know, that audience friendly so that folks can come after work. It's not too late. We know we're going to provide childcare. We're going to feed everybody. You know, we're even talking about folks walking away with a bag of food, you know, gift cards. Like, we really want to make it worth the while of those workers in the trenches, like you say, on the battlefield, that, you know, we want to be there and we need to hear from. So, but we do, I'd love your feedback on that too, because we also don't want to, you know, be being disrespectful, I guess.
Absolutely. The evening time is perfect for the providers. Many of the centers don't close till 6:30. So to start at 7 is great, so they can get off work and get there. And providing childcare is even better. I think gift cards are a better idea than the grocery. If you're going to do something, to do the gift cards instead. And is there a certain amount of people you're budgeting for, or we're hoping for? Is there a number in mind that we have? Or just the key hitters, just get 15 the key hitters, or you want a room full of people? What are we looking to see happen?
Well, I mean, I think we were, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, I think we were talking, and the reason why I'm pouring up the food is because we're doing it at Feeding Tampa Bay. So that was just like, we're there, they can, but no, I think you're right. But I think we were talking about 40 or, no, how many?
Okay.
Y'all correct me. I think it's a little different now too, if we're
20,
thinking
25
providers.
provide like the voices in the room, and then like 100, I think total, 75 to 100 total, wasn't
Yeah,
I
you're
think?
right.
Okay. So invite 25 people in the community that are a part of everything we see happen. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, I think that's what we were thinking.
Okay.
But like I said, your feedback, and y'all please jump in, the rest of you, but you know, your feedback, Dr. Fudge, is making me think that the 100 or 75, you know, maybe that's not the right direction to go if we really want candid conversation with the folks, and I'm assuming they're mostly women, who are the providers. You know, if we really want them to be candid, maybe it is two different conversations. I don't know. You know, but too, the power of their words coming directly from them is really valuable too. So I don't know if, you know, there is one or two of those folks that would sort of be the voice that aren't, you know, scared to take on the Mercedes. You know what I mean? That could literally be those voices, because I think it would be so powerful coming from them rather than like us, you know, saying, you know, here's what they said. So I don't know, just things to think about. And guys, if I'm going in a totally different, wrong direction, please weigh in. I'm trying to hear what Dr. Fudge is saying, and I do get it. I get that, you know, they might not be as candid if they're surrounded by the very people that they're. All right, I see Rosa. Yay. I'll stop talking.
Hi, good morning, everyone. And thank you
Good
again,
morning.
Dr. Fudge, for being with us. I was thinking, is it a possibility if we had the town hall, as we talked about, with those individuals that Dr. Fudge recommended be in the room, but then at the end, there maybe is a virtual link that some of those key hitters can come back in to to hear the feedback and see those individuals that gave voice in the room, so that it's like there's what I call a safe space for the individuals to have the candid conversations, to have the breakout sessions, but then you would call in some of those other individuals at the end of the meeting so that they'll realize that that voice is going to be heard and that they can also see that individuals that participate. Is that a possibility that it's a hybrid type of event as opposed to a one size fits all?
Thoughts? Like I said, I don't want to go too far down any road just because Mary Pat's not with us. And I am going to ask her to please maybe listen to this whole conversation so that she's up to speed. But yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting idea too.
You know, I
It's
was
a
wondering.
short night, just FYI. I mean, it's not a long, so we've got to be mindful of how much we're trying to pack in. Because I've had experiences where I've tried to pack in too much into a short period, and that's been disastrous too.
Well, that's why I was thinking maybe those individuals could be like a virtual at the end to say, these are some other key hitters or these are other individuals. We will be having more of these types of forums. We want to make sure that we understand so that those individuals, if I'm hearing both sides well, we want the voice of the persons that are in the field doing the work, but we also don't want to have those persons that we think could be key contributors as well to feel excluded. Because if what we're trying to do is to unify those fronts, we need to make sure that all individuals feel that that space is safe for them to be in. And so I was just offering that as a possibility as to how you could do that. Because I've been in town halls before, and if you don't feel that the space is safe, then you will not get some of the robust conversation that is needed. But you also do not want to alienate key players as well.
Very valid point. I see Bernadette first.
Yes, echoing what was just talked about, but and Lee, what you were saying too about possibly having more than one event. Just from past experience with events, people seem to be more comfortable sharing in a round table type of space, so if it could be like a breakout session or something, before the main event where somebody is leading a table discussion, then people are more apt to share, certain things. We might be able to get more valuable information from a little bit more one-on-one conversation, like 7 people and a table leader or something like that.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, it could be the same evening and it's just not identified, right? The folks could be anonymous. Like if you do breakouts and they're in a safer space away from the other folks, but then we share back the feedback as the feedback of the group that it's not specific. I don't know, Dr. Fudge, if that makes a difference, if that's helpful, or we're still fighting the same problem.
I'd love to hear the rest of their questions, and I'm going to give a comment. Let me hear where everyone's coming from, then I'll give a comment.
Okay.
I see hands everywhere. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Angela, you get to be number 2.
I was wondering if they might be more open to us, the Commission of the Status of Women, because we're not the Children's Board. It's a new space, it's a new opportunity for them. Would they feel better, coming to us?
Thank you.
Oh, I don't think it would matter. That's fine.
Mindy?
So I just, so many of us are newer to the commission. I do want to remind us that we are the convener, but not the owner of this issue long-term. And I don't know that we have figured out who carries the water after we form, because I'm getting a little nervous when I start hear us talking about we're going to have multiple events, because that is not actually our role.
Well, I think it's still just convening. I think it's just splitting the original idea in half. I'm definitely not saying we take ownership.
Yeah.
And we do need to figure out who that is. I definitely agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
So,
no. I'm a little anxious about just 2, just because of our own bandwidth.
right.
But I do want to respect what Dr. Fudge is saying, and it's not valuable if they're not in the room or they're not speaking. So
and we in the last meeting, and I think I've got to now carry the water with asking Brian and Maureen, because India has had a catastrophic loss to her house. So we were going to convene, Dr. Fudge. We were going to ask Maureen and Brian Butler from Vistra Communications if they would get involved and do some surveying. And I need to get better, because I didn't take great notes, because India was going to be the one, but I'll look in our notes who's going to reach out. But now that I'm reaching out, I think if I recall correctly from the conversation from last month, that was one of the things we teased out, is that maybe if they do some surveying in advance, that helps inform the event in May. So some of it might get accomplished by outreach ahead of time to the constituencies. But that was a month ago, and I wasn't immediately tasked, so now I got to refresh myself a little bit more. Somebody else might remember more exactly what we were hoping to accomplish with engaging them.
No, that could
Mindy,
really
what we
help.
did Sunday was, I'm president of the Black Child Development Institute. And as president, my role is to go out to the Black and Brown providers and find out what are your needs in the community. And so our vice president, Deidre Anthony, of course, Dr. Hicks is on there as well. And we had our meeting last week. week before last for the storm, we had Owen Young there, Tracy Brown, Sean
Yeah.
Shaw, Gary Harford, a slew of people that we were collaborating, say, and the providers were in the room with us. We had 55 people there, and heavy hitters who are part of our field too. And we said, what are the issues? So they gave us the issues. We did a survey,
Okay.
and we had 80 something odd families show up on a Sunday. And so we are clear what the issues are as Black Child Development Institute. We've surveyed, we know what they are. And we survey about once every 6 months, and they are the same things. So we had Tracy come and Owen come,
Yeah.
and Gary, the whole slew of the school system people. I don't know other names yet, but we had them all come and hear what the providers said the issues are. And so we have a follow-up meeting with Shay, Deputy Superintendent, and with Owen Young to talk about the things that need to be done. But our pulse is very tight on the community, what's needed, and we've surveyed that, and Brian and Maureen are fantastic, but we've done that already, and we have documentation of what they said the needs are. We have a town hall every 3 or 4 months. Angela's come to 2 of them, where you hear people saying, and I've invited some of you all to come, we're saying these are our problems, help, help, help. And so as president, I feel my arms are tied, if you will. The Buccaneers have joined aboard us, and they're helping us as well. They sponsored our event on Sunday, and Tanika and the rest of the crew were there. But we know what the needs are. It's just a matter of who's going to help us with the needs and who's in charge of helping us with the needs. And that's where we fall defunct, if you will, is trying to figure out who's going to help. So, but people are at the table listening, and that's the first start.
Okay. So we may want to rethink, you're sweetly saying, because we have the data from you. The only data that would be missing then, if you all are focused exclusively on Black and Brown, would be other parts of Hillsborough County.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, that's helpful.
Ours
Thank
focus
you.
on the 33 felon schools. Yeah, we're on the 33
Okay.
felon schools, and the chakra centers in those zip codes.
Okay.
That's
All
very
right.
helpful.
We shall
I think
rethink.
I know.
That's the
This
theme.
is
The
very
theme of this
helpful.
year. We rethink every month.
Yeah, because exactly, we don't want to duplicate what you're doing. We want to
Yeah.
enhance and amplify
Well,
or,
and you're
or
the
whatever.
Yeah, you're the expert in this, right? So
Yeah.
it's also possible that you're the person we're like, here you go, Dr. Fudge, right?
Right. Great team of
Poor Dr.
people
Fudge, I'm
working,
sure she
that's
has
for
nothing
sure.
else to do. She has nothing else to do. All right, I see Angela next.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to put my hand down.
Oh, okay. All righty, Rebecca, do you have another thought? And
I
then
think
Nicole.
that the dilemma is that, and Dr. Fudge and I have been having conversations for a while, right? Maybe the whole time I've been in this position, I don't know. So we've got information on one side, right? From people who are in, like you say, boots on the ground doing this work. But then we have a disconnect between, and I'm only one funder, right? And our primary focus is not necessarily childcare, but it's a piece because of our early childhood. And you've got the Early Learning Coalition in the school district. But there's also some state level funding policy that we have to bridge to. And that's what I think we were attempting to do. And I appreciate the challenge that people aren't going to talk if you get everybody in the same room necessarily because of history, right? So how do we conquer that? Because we need, this whole point of this is to lift the voices. So where are we lifting them to? Who are we lifting them to? How are we going to use that to make meaningful change? So that's, and it's not easy, but I think if we can get to that, how does that best work? That's really what we're trying to accomplish, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
So,
Well,
is it that we collect all the information outside of a group setting, which would be totally intimidating for the child? You know, I think our intentions are wonderful, but we don't necessarily have all the perspectives from where we're sitting. So I appreciate what Dr. Fudge is saying. If we're going to invest in this, we want this to be very beneficial. So we've got to figure out how to effectively lift those voices to the people who can make change. And I think some of the state level people are part of it. Yes, we've got local system partners. And I think the local system partners, at least on the surface, want to do something. but there's a whole connection to the state system. And that was my intent in trying to bring in some of these state level policy people to actually start making a change, because I don't know that the information's getting up there.
Miss Rebecca, I can tell you it's getting up there because I've done it myself. I've done it myself. 31 years I've been doing this in Hillsborough County. Well, nationwide now, because I'm national with Office of Head Start. 31 years, Rebecca, talking to the same people, and then they're replaced. Unsaid name on a recorded call has been in that spot for 18 years. Say Daphne, I'm like, oh, I know Daphne, because I writing, calling, driving, you name it. It's the mindset, Rebecca, that some of these individuals unnamed that you're saying, they only believe in the Mercedes-Benz because that's their car they drive. That's their program. So I'm going to push my Mercedes-Benz because that's mine. I'm over that program. That's who I fund. That's what I do. So I'm going to push what I do. I don't work for any of these people, so I'm not pushing any certain entity. I'm just pushing help. But the individuals, we can do policy change. We've been fighting for that, but that same person's been in that spot for almost 20 years, and all they talk about is their Mercedes-Benz. You bring, come on, what about a Honda? What about a Toyota? Mercedes-Benz. Well, you drive it, you work for it, and that's their minds. I want to talk to them all. They know my name, and we'll do that. And we want to continue having faith that policy will be changed. I wouldn't do this all free that I do. I wouldn't do it if I didn't believe in the policy. Rebecca, with some of these unnamed names, that's their car. So that's all they're going to push. They don't want to hear about anybody else's car because they believe in their car. And so we'll talk, and I'll talk until I go home to heaven. But they have to entertain those other cars that's fantastically can be driven on the road other than their Mercedes. Toyota is the best made car out there. The program they push is not a program that I endorse. I don't like their program, but I'm not out here buying back. And I'll tell you if you want to know why I don't like it, but I don't. But they still keep pushing their program. It's not Daphne Fudge didn't like it. The community didn't like it. If they liked it, they do what, you guys? They'd use it. It's been there 40 years. They're not using it. So if they're not using it, it means what?
If your efforts, I mean, is there someone who could make them listen? Is that the people we need to be targeting? I guess
the more that we're together talking, I think it's power in numbers for sure, you guys. And all you all have a passion. We can be at the table. We can talk. I can represent the community. I can have someone else representing that owns 15 sites in Hillsborough County. Us talking to those powers and understanding what we're saying, I think there's power in numbers too. Instead of just being Daphne talking their ears off, and a few of us, all of us doing, I think there's power in us to be on the call saying, listen, you want us to sign a contract. Family, providers do not want to sign a contract to get training paid. They don't trust that. They don't want to sign a contract saying, I must stay employed at Rebecca's school after I get certified, and Rebecca's paying $12 an hour. The average pay in childcare is $12 an hour. But if you pay for my training, I have to sign a contract to stay here for up to a year. And if I leave, I have to pay you back. They don't want to sign your contract. If they want to sign it, they'd have signed it 31 years ago. So yes, I want these people in the room, you guys, and policy changes, and we can talk to them. But it's fallen on deaf ears for 31 years. I would love to keep talking to them, and we will, because I won't give up. But we have to also bring other people to the table and say, listen, I want to help too. The state folks want to help. Daphne will help as well. I won't give up hope. Please don't think I'm saying that. But they've
no, absolutely
31
not.
years, and they won't change. They think the Mercedes is the baddest car on the road. And quite frankly, it's not. The Toyota is. So
I see a couple
So,
more hands.
so who do we need to have? Who do we need to have in the room? Do we need Vinnick, who has more money than God? Do we need
yes.
These people?
Yes, Angela, we do. We have to let them know that there's more great programs out there. They love HCC, and I do too. But there's more out there than just HCC. There's other programs out there. Let me tell you, statistically speaking, and I pull up my stuff. Dr. Hicks texts me 9 times on this call, but I'll tell you this: are the providers in our community, and the 33610, 33619, and I'll tell you Black and Brown because that's the community that's underserved. Do you know how many of them participate in that state program? People of color, 4%. So if it were working, why are we still at that 5% number, 4 or 5% number? People participate in that number are working for Primrose, our Bright Horizons, that want to stay at their currently employed job because they have benefits, they're paid higher wages, they have vacation, sick time, At the individually owned facilities, these providers don't have vacation time, sick time, holiday pay, nothing. If they don't work, they don't get paid. But you want me to sign a contract that I'll stay at this place? If you pay for my training, they don't want to sign it. They don't want to sign it.
Yeah, so I see
So-
Mindy has, thanks, Mindy.
Yeah, I'd like to get back to, because it's kind of the path that Rebecca led us on, and Dr. Fudge is now reinforcing. When we started this conversation so long ago, we started with getting excited about the contract that Dr. Fudge is talking about, that a childcare worker can sign to get the training that makes them credentialed and more marketable in their field so they can get that better pay. And we kind of then deviated from that. And I would challenge us that I think we need to, whether it's that, or whether it's something, I don't, at this point, I'm agnostic to what it is, but I do think we need to pick one specific thing that we are attempting to change, because childcare is a huge issue. And we are a small and mighty group of women, but we're still a small and mighty. And we're not trying to create a national movement or even a statewide movement, I don't think, because this is not the role, but one thing to affect change on. And we might want to settle back on what Dr. Fudge is talking about, this idea of this credential, because I think we've lost sight in that in the last couple meetings. So is that the one thing we want to change? Because that at least is a targeted, tangible thing. We want the powers and the people in power to relax the requirement that you can get training paid for and reimbursed by, signing yourself into indentured servitude at your existing childcare center, when now you're marketable and you can get a better job. So I'd be in
you're
favor
absolutely
of going
right.
to that, right? And we plant that flag in the ground. This is what we want to change with our work.
And I feel like we pivoted away from that because at some point we heard that wasn't the greatest issue. So yeah, Dr. Fudge, I'd love to hear what you think.
Well, okay, Lee. We have powers to be that do like the contract. They do. Early Learning Coalition likes the contract. ACC likes the contract. There are powers to be that like the contract, and I respect that. I'm just one power to be. There are folks like the contract, but I charge you to understand that if they can like it all day and twice on the Sabbath, but the providers don't like it, then where are we going? They love the contract. The contract was revised, I believe, but the owners signed the contract now, saying, I have to look it up, you guys. Someone told me it's revised, that the owners sign it and they give you a certain amount of time off work to study and prepare for it. Well, as an owner, I'm short-staffed, so I can't sign anything, let you be out of the classroom, period. Who's going to watch the children be at a ratio? So whatever your umbrellas want to embrace is fantastic. If it's just listening to providers and hearing what they have to say, and then us collaborating, saying, okay, you guys, here's what they had to say. Let's talk to whomever it may be, the school system, Head Start, whoever it may be. Let's talk to them and see what they can do to solve the problems. It doesn't have to be a children's forum. It can be something locally. I have a lot of faith in us locally, that we have the resource and the powers to be that can help us locally. We, a lot of missions, I spoke with Helios, a lot of missions serve children 0 to 8. We're just at maximizing those missions into early childhood. I have faith locally. It's just, and the providers do as well. We just have to figure out, how do we collaborate locally to get this initiative across the board to people and let them understand what's happening?
Can I ask a clarifying
Angela,
question of what she just said? Are you saying that your pivot would be that we don't need this state mandated contract signed program? We need funding for training locally that doesn't have those same, is that what I'm hearing, or am I not hearing that right?
No, Mindy, you heard it. I just try to say very professionally. You heard it. I was slithering through the lines. You heard it clearly. And I
Okay.
say that, Mindy, because 31 years, this lack of trust providers have. So if we change the verbiage, that is, if you don't trust the car maker, you don't drive the car. So we got to get that trust built back in the community for them to even want. If we took it and changed it, I don't know if I can get people to trust it and do it right away. Maybe do a pilot group of people, but there's a lot of trust we have locally with people here. And I think if we focus on local, then we can focus on the pineapple in Tallahassee and all that type of stuff, because we focus on that for 31 years. And Mindy, nothing has changed, Mindy, nothing. And so I do want to fight the powers. I'm down for a fight, But I think it's easier if we sit down and say, okay, ELC, I'm using ELC just because I know Dr. Hicks. ELC, you have $2. How can we get that $2 to be spent locally on accreditation? Accreditation is crucial. It's crucial for providers because it raises the bar. There's no agency in Hillsborough County that focuses on accreditation. And I don't understand how that's happened. I've been fighting it, but if we don't get the chocolate center credit, Mindy, you're still going to have leaking roofs, roaches everywhere, ants, beat up toys, because no one's going in checking, are you A+ standard? They're just checking to see if you're following the state laws, which are very minimal, may I add. So that's what I was slithering through, but Mindy, you caught it. So I slithered for nothing.
So I feel like Nicole has been trying to say something, and I don't know if you want to or if that was a mistake. She may be running around. All right, ladies. This was both extremely helpful and extremely not helpful. Rosa, actually. Here's Rosa.
I guess that the one thing that I guess I would have us as a commission be very cognizant of is one of the worst things that you can do is to have a form where you say that you're giving people voice, and then that voice falls short because we don't know who the listeners are and who's going to be the power to be. And so the last thing we want to do is to create an opportunity to have them feel empowered for it to fall short once again. So this question that Rebecca poses really does need to be answered, and we need to truly consider who are the listeners and how is that gap going to be bridged and what the focus is, so that when the people are invited to come, we know the clearly promised outcome and we have that standard to be able to measure to see that we delivered it.
Agreed, because it sounds like they've been listened to for a long time, but nothing, as Dr. Fudge just said, nothing has changed. So we don't want to be yet another in a long line of people doing that to them. Any other thoughts? I think we have some thinking to do as a commission, probably at our next meeting, to kind of process this information and see where we go from here. So I think that's what
And
we're
hopefully
thinking.
Mary Pat will be here and
Yeah,
some too.
yeah, exactly. Like her ears must be burning as we're like completely going in a weird direction. But thank you so much, Dr. Fudge, for your time and for everything that you do for this, for that industry, so to speak, or that community. We really do appreciate it.
Thank
And
you.
we
It's a
want,
blessing.
we just want to help. And again, we've been sort of floundering around for, as Mindy said, quite some time trying to figure out where we might fit in here. So our intentions are very good, and we do feel like we have the ability to convene and get some attention, but we just continue to not find our sweet spot. But we'll get there. We'll get there with help from folks like you. Anything else for Dr. Fudge?
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you
much.
guys for having me. If you need me, I'll be around. I can come again.
Yeah, and we'll keep
Okay.
talking.
All righty. Thank you guys so much.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye, guys.
Bye. So yeah,
Bye.
so Nicole is mentioning that since we have the surveys, maybe we present her information. Anyway, we've got a lot of talking to do, I guess, as an internal group. Do we want to continue on this conversation now that Dr. Fitch has left the conversation? Or again, I don't want to go very far without Mary Pat being with us. But that was definitely.
I think it just makes us consider who we want in the room.
Rebecca, I know you work in this. I mean,
Right. I mean, if I'd love to hear Rebecca's take on the likelihood of, is there a local someone else that can do this training, and who are those, who are the Toyotas and the Hondas and the, continuing the car analogy, the Yugos?
Yeah, and
anymore?
I don't know necessarily about the training and the other options, but I think part of it is the funding.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are the conversations that I've had with Dr. Fudge, and it's I think we need to take some time to process kind of the discussion and come back maybe next month and talk about it a little more.
If there's money out there for children. I mean, who's going to say no?
That's a myth. that is, I mean, having been a professional fundraiser all my life, there is money for children, but it's not as easy. Like when I worked for the Child Abuse Council, people would say, who's going to say no to the Child Abuse Council? You'd be surprised who said no pretty much every week of every year. So I agree with you, Angela. There is money, but sometimes tapping that money is not as easy as we think it is.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And I think part of my perspective as a funding agency is that one of the things the Children's Board has to be very careful about, and it's in our statute, that we don't supplant. So if there's another entity that's paying for something, the Children's Board shouldn't. So that's part of my focus on, is there an existing resource, and what's the deal with the resources? Is it meeting the need, and why not? And looking to try to impact that. And that was why I wanted to talk to Michelle Watson, and who also has a statewide perspective, and I think does want to make change to improve things.
Is there a small, like, do you know who is it a very small group of providers who can do these trainings that you have to sign the contract for? Is it just HCC and?
That I don't know. I haven't gotten deep enough into it to actually know the mechanisms, which we can. And I mean, maybe that's part of what we understand. I mean, we're a group that is not in this business. And so we're kind of relying on people, and it may be that we want to get other voices. Dr. Fudge is really important, has a very strong voice and a lot of perspective, but I think there's also other perspectives that we may need to bring in and look at. And I think that's, I think part of what we're trying to achieve is lift these voices up that aren't necessarily, don't have the power or, the platform to bring that to the people, because there is a disconnect. I mean, there's always going to be a disconnect. You're sitting in different seats. So it's really kind of an art.
Angela, when you've been in that room, do you know that answer to that question about who does the training?
You know what? I need to clarify, if someone wants to pay $3,000 and help this person go through training, does that mean they don't have to sign a contract?
I can tell you what I know about the contract is that it's like lots of places that do professional development, right? So if you pay for professional development of your own staff, you expect them to stay for a while.
Right.
And right?
Yeah.
Right.
So that's where I think some of the thinking comes from. The problem is it's not working for certain, particularly this sector, right? That's very low wage.
If they get a scholarship or they come up with the money themselves, that contract is not in the picture, right?
The contract has to do with the TEACH program, which is a scholarship program.
Yeah.
So I can
They're
do
self-funded. Yeah, they could leave the next day.
Okay.
Yes,
good.
absolutely.
Because I think originally we were saying that if we could raise money so they could avoid the contract.
Yeah, I think, let me try to get some more information.
I
on the nuts
also
and
am questioning
bolts of
that 3,000, because I mean, my staff, we have a childcare center and our people get credentialed, but sometimes we have people who aren't, they might have a 4-year college degree, but they're moving into this work, and they need to get like a director's credential. And it doesn't cost $3,000 at HCC. I think it's more like $400. So I think there's a lot of maybe what we're also, like both of you were just saying, like, we don't have the answers to all of the questions in this issue that we're now touting. Because I'm pretty sure there's different tracks, so maybe we need to understand that first, and then we can.
Because I'm really not clear of the actual cost.
Right.
Yeah, is there enough? Who is anyone else doing it besides HCC? And if they just come up with the money, are they free to be? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that comment about professional development, like, I think if I took a class yesterday, I would leave my job. And the fact that the rules are different for these folks is just kind of wrong. Well, I go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, as an employer, right, who has paid for things, we do sometimes put some stipulations around higher cost that like not like you must stay for 3 years, but you must stay for the next 6 months, or you can pay, right? If we pay for something for you that normally you would pay for yourself, like a credential that now makes you marketable, I do have an expectation. I've just paid for your credential, and if you left tomorrow, like you've just used me, right? So we do put some short-term like stipulations, and I don't think that's unreasonable. But I'm also paying in childcare, you know, we're at $18 an hour. So you know, and they get 20 days of paid time off and a week of sick time. So and
you're
benefits.
not having them sign their lives away.
No.
And, you know, honestly, obviously people of
Yeah.
honor aren't gonna like do what I just
Yeah.
said, but I'm just saying it just seems like the rules being different for folks in this field is just wrong. But the one thing I do want to get back to, so maybe it's Angela and Rebecca. I feel what she's saying about folks not being candid, depending on who's in the room. So that really struck me, and I feel like that was worth the whole conversation, because we don't want it to be like that. We don't want them to feel, and I think we've been working towards that the whole time. We want these folks to feel welcome and, you know, safe and all that stuff. But so that perspective, I mean, do you feel like that's the truth? And how, you know, how do we get around it?
Well, I think there's some people who are going to be forthright. They don't care who's in the room. And then there's going to be some people who I don't want to say anything. So I think she could identify who's just going to be vocal.
And maybe we can provide, like I mentioned, some anonymity. You know, if she's got that data, you know, we start with that, and it's not any one person in the room saying, yes, I said that, that is me. But it could be, here's the survey data that we've been provided. You know, this is the feelings of the folks in this arena. So we start with amplifying those answers, and then maybe folks would feel more comfortable just following on to things that had been said by somebody else. I don't know.
I don't know. If they show up, I would think they would want to speak.
Yeah, I like Bernadette's idea, and we've done it that way before with some of the other forums that we have done, the smaller round table with a facilitator, and the answers and discussion could remain anonymous. And then even if the power people came in towards the end and this was presented to them anonymously, or whoever felt comfortable to speak up in person to these powers that be, I'm kind of leaning toward that kind of forum might be more acceptable for people to speak up.
Yeah, I like that idea. Rebecca, any thoughts? I think you unmuted there.
Yeah, I was just looking at some of the background on this TEACH program, which I think it might be a national initiative that the children's movement took on for Florida. I mean, again, I think there's a lot of, that's just one piece of it. And I think what Dr. Fudge seemed to be saying was we want a local option, an approach to deal with this, that this TEACH program isn't the only thing, and that this is an issue that everybody needs to get behind.
Would the alternative be we just help people find the money to pay for it themselves?
Well, and I don't know. I personally don't know. Is this the only issue? Is it just money for training? I think that's one, but I think there are others. I know that one of the first conversations I had with Dr. Fudge was, you know, you have to provide the flexibility. I mean, if these are women with their own children, they're working full-time in a childcare center, you have to create the flexibility. So I think it's, yeah, and part of this is getting those voices and having them come up with some specific asks. I mean, maybe that's where we start, and maybe I say to our state connections, let's hold off for now. Let this be a local event. This is Hillsborough County looking at ways to take care of Hillsborough County, and still try to do this in the way that we thought. But think about, if we had more childcare providers there than others, right? The policymakers think about it being, if it's even possible to get more of the voices there, small amount of policymakers, but then take that group of policymakers or local people or funders and to then help carry the voices because they have the power. Does that make sense?
I think that was the original concept. Yeah.
And
I
maybe
think you're right.
maybe even the, if you kind of set the tables up for these breakouts where it's mostly childcare providers, but then there's somebody that can take on to be the voice and the champion at these tables to then do the report out. So it's really a partnership.
I think that's starting to make sense because it does give some ground for, again, anonymity, but, candid. And, saying champion, I mean, that's just what I'm thinking. Like, this issue needs that person, needs that activist, that it needs
multiple. It needs multiple people.
For sure,
and that
for sure. But, somebody that's gonna, oh my gosh, lightning bolt or light bulb goes off and I didn't realize this was such a major issue. And yeah, I'm that community activist or others who is gonna champion this cause and take it to people. Because I think it needs, Dr. Fudge can do it all day long, like she said, for 31
Right.
years, but it's her job. And, she's, yelling into the abyss and it,
Right.
needs that person. So maybe, I mean, if that came out of this, that would be a wonderful thing. Because
So
you
I'm
guys,
wondering,
again, you're doing
who
this
she's
job.
talked to. I'm wondering who she has talked to for all these years, and it's gone nowhere. We need to be talking to someone else, that will truly resonate and make it happen. I also wanted to ask if there is another local entity or person like a Dr. Fudge, because I know Rebecca had said maybe listening to other perspectives as well. So are there other people that we could invite in maybe to our next meeting?
We
Who can
did,
give
we
maybe a different perspective?
Yeah, we did have a couple more names, and I'm not going to remember who that is right now, but I'm sure it's in the minutes. Hopefully when Jada gets to that. But yeah, there were a couple other people, right, that we felt were what we wanted from Dr. Fudge this morning, like who needs to be in this room? Like we need you as the expert to tell us that. So we can go back in the notes hopefully and find that. I agree. Because she's a strong advocate and she's obviously incredibly knowledgeable, but there are others. Okay, well, we're running late on time and I don't want to keep you guys too long. We definitely need to revisit this at our next meeting and, like Rebecca said, absorb this. I'll ask Mary Pat to watch the video if you'll send it, please, Jada, to her so she can see what happened. But anyway, we'll keep.
I'll send it to her.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, we'll keep moving forward because I think this is still the right idea. It still feels that way, but maybe just the format changes. All right, Dottie, anything new with the Human Trafficking Commission?
The only thing new, and Rosa, if you know of any other things, the procurement process has been completed and the funding for the mural has been submitted and given to the Tampa Foundation. And now the Tampa Foundation is working with the muralist on renderings that are also tremendous survivor input into the renderings. And I think the timeline to get it done has been obviously set back a little bit. So I'm not quite sure when it's going to be completed, hopefully before the end of the year, but getting the funding before September 30 was crucial. So it didn't really matter when it was going to be done, as long as the funding was, all of that was taken care of. So that's all I know. We have a steering committee coming up Thursday. I'm not able to be there. I will be in Jacksonville. And I don't know if Rosa will be there or not. I hope so. But that's the only report that I have, unless there's anything I've missed, Rosa, that you want to share.
I think the only other thing was that I believe they did approve to continue the funding into next year as well. We got the funding for this year, but we also got the approval that they would continue to fund the area of human trafficking. And then I will look and see. I didn't see the the Thursday meeting on my calendar, but if they could forward it to me, I will try to attend in your absence.
Yes, I know Lisa Monteleone has been on vacation. She sent an email yesterday saying she would send out the agenda to remind everybody there was a meeting. I kind of thought maybe we wouldn't have one, but there is one. So hopefully she'll send that out today, Rosa. If I get it, I'll forward to you, just to be on the safe side.
Thank you.
Thank you both. One question for you, Dottie. Have they discussed maintenance? Because I know with murals, that's a big thing, and I know it's in a protected area, but
Yeah, it's in the contract, I think. I don't want to misspeak, but I think FDOT was going to take care of the maintenance, but I'm not 100% sure. There was a lot of discussion going back and forth about that, but I did not see the final contract. But there was discussion that FDOT would take care of that.
perfect.
And they were supposed to treat it so that it would have the ability not to be able to deface it in any kind of way. So there's some kind of protection that they're placing on it to help make sure it doesn't get defaced.
That's great. That's important in that area because I know it'll help with the area, but that's great. And then I know we'd probably love to see renderings whenever those are available. You know, we'd love to see what it's
Yes.
going to look like if you want to bring it to us when that's possible. And
Will do.
that also reminds me, Jada and Joanne, speaking of money from the county, did we get that all done? Are we good to go? I know we got approved for the amount of money, but then there was all the forms and stuff. So
Yeah, the procurement person has been on vacation and we have all the receipts and everything, so I'm just waiting on her to get back to send it through and we're good to go.
okay, perfect. That's great. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dottie and Rosa, for that. That's really great news. All right. Old or new business, I will mention I don't know if it's old or new, but the Women's Hall of Fame stuff is open. I think Joanna's going to circulate the, whatever that thing is called, control document. And
Yes,
at the
I
next
will.
meeting, thank you. And at the next meeting, we'll kind of go through and see if we can divvy up some of the. We won't know obviously who they are until vote on them, so we won't have liaisons yet, but we'll towards that as well. So yeah, actually, Joanna, if you wouldn't mind circulating that this week, I know we lost some time, but please push that out to your push the application out to your folks, and I know the county's doing that as well.
While you all were speaking with Dr. Fudge, I went on Facebook and I just posted the nominations and I set up a few scheduled posts. So we'll keep reminding with some videos of the past. So feel free to share them and push them out to everyone you know.
And if there was anybody from last year that seemed, that was tops, if they were your contact, please go back to them. Please, though, do remember that I think somewhere there's that guidance about, no one who's campaigning can apply. I think we decided, and Mindy, you'll remember this because you're so good about it, but did we decide that we thought that current sitting elected officials was okay? It's just they can't be campaigning. If you remember from last year, those of you who were here, it created some sort of awkward.
We have
Yes.
had, yes, we have had elected officials inducted in the past, but not in a campaign year.
All right. It's still kind of awkward.
It
and
is.
Again, these folks, they should be heading towards their sunset, I guess, or whatever you want to call it.
Right. I think the tricky thing is like one, I think of, our public defender, right? Julianne Holt has been the public defender for something like 30 years. So
Yeah.
she is right on the sunset, but she is, has been elected into the Hall of Fame. But perhaps not when you're in your first year or second year of an elected office, right? And you're in your late 40s or early 50s, right? There's still some runway.
Yeah, and the nature of the award is that it is truly someone who has done years and years and years.
Yeah.
And Julianne probably was perfectly, by the time she was inducted, I'm sure she had all that under her belt. But
she was well seasoned.
There you go. But anyway, so as you're thinking about it, and of course we cannot apply for anybody because we vote on it, but push it out. And if there's somebody great that you think of, ask your friends to nominate them. I have someone in mind, actually.
I mean,
and
we
any
always, if
hiccups.
we wanted to, we could, we can change the criteria and, but anything we do, we should expressly state on the application. So if we decided that it's cleaner to not have it be somebody who's, sitting in office, we could even, dial that down if we
Add
wanted
that,
to.
yeah.
We don't have to. Yeah, but we should, but at the outset, right? Because I think what doesn't work well is behind the scenes saying, well, we're not going to pick, Susie or, Juanita because because they're an elected official, but we haven't
Right.
expressly said that
Right.
on the application itself. So
Yeah, well, so then it's too late for this year.
Yeah.
But
Right.
that said, I mean, we can still, when we're making our own individual calculations on the thing, that should be, it should be somebody heading off into the sunset and having years and years under their belt, because that's who else is on the wall. So I think that's fair. All right, cool. Anything else for old or new? I know we've kept you guys a little longer than we usually
Lee,
do.
I just want to say, speaking of heading off into the sunset, I was pleasantly shocked that I nominated for the Florida Commission on Human Trafficking's Women's Hall of Fame. I had no idea. I'm just shocked. But
Congratulations, you're one of 10 finalists.
One of 10 finalists, and I didn't even know how their process worked. And then the woman who nominated me, Tammy Fitzpatrick, found out that, submissions and then the top 10 are picked and then they go to the governor. So apparently it's on the governor's desk, but I think it's a long shot. I'm just very honored to be in the top 10. So I am kind of riding the sunset now. So
Well,
congratulations. Yeah, they pick, the Florida Commission narrows down from the applicant pool to 10 that they submit to the governor, and then the governor picks 3. So I only know that because Yvonne used to
That's
be
exciting.
the chair of that. Yeah.
Okay.
Congratulations. That's
Keep you posted.
Big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, please do. Please do. Anything else from anybody before we adjourn? Thank you all so much. This was very valuable, confusing and valuable and complicated, but that's okay. It's a complicated subject, so I think that's okay. Thank you all so very much.
Bye.
See you next month. Hopefully some of you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.